Or on 612 ABC Radio Brisbane. Ellen Fanning with you through till 6 o'clock tonight. For the first time in 16 years, it's the teachers' turn to skip school. More than 570,000 students will be impacted when teachers go on strike tomorrow. The Queensland Teachers Union says an immediate improvement in daily working conditions. That's the top priority for members. Ben Sacco has worked as a teacher, as a deputy principal, a senior staffer in the Victorian Department of Education. He's now managing director of a national consultancy group called Education Economy, and he's been speaking to us here at 612 ABC Drive about what it is that's causing such despair among teachers in Queensland and right around the country. Ben, explain to me the significance of this strike from your vantage point.
Yeah, hi, Alan. Look, firstly, it's not about just the money, as people are understanding. It's about securing the future of the public education. And so as the QTU president, Krista Richardson, has said, that no strike action is really taken lightly. The first in 16 years. It's not a school and an education sort of centric issue. This is also around community issue. This is about our teachers educating the young children and students in our community. And the disruption can be huge in any strike situation. So it's something that's really significant and something that teachers and the union believe needs to happen.
When you hear about the sort of workplace challenges teachers in Queensland face, it's all very familiar to you, isn't it? Because it's going on right around the Commonwealth. What is it that they're facing? What has developed at work that is so difficult for them to manage, intolerable?
Look, I'm very fortunate I get to see a national lens around in schools that are looking to create environments that are the right conditions to deliver the high-quality education that we set out to achieve delivering. There's huge workload, well-reported burnout and stress, rise in behaviours of concern in our schools. It's not just teachers. There was a report by the Australian Principal Occupational Health and Safety Wellbeing Survey compiled by ACU that said more than half the principals surveyed signalled an intention to quit. That figure jumped to 82% for those with low job satisfaction, and the intense nature of low-value admin tasks and really low-level opportunities to plan and really create those conditions for our young children.
We hear over and over again on the talkback line teachers talking about doing lesson planning at home, doing hours of work after school. And when I say to them, well, what are you doing during school hours? A lot of it is around not only that admin, but dealing with those challenging behaviours from students. Is that something, like all of us went to school, so we kind of all think we're experts at schooling, is that something that's got worse over the decades?
Yeah, look, I think to your point, what we're seeing play out is more disruption from a viewpoint of dysregulated young people, heightened anxiety, cost of living pressures. This is about what happens outside of a school setting and what young people bring in with them. And they're trying to navigate the complexities of a modern world in a modern classroom. It's different to 30 years ago. If you look at, the resource model, for example, in Queensland, my understanding is it hasn't been adjusted in the last 30 years. It's not fit for purpose with regards to what teachers are being asked to do and cater towards. Their passion and purpose is there, but the resources are not stacking up.
Yeah, so it's not so much about pay, but what work is like when you get to work. Ben Sacco with us. He's an educator, I guess, is how you describe yourself, national managing director of a national consultancy group, Education Economy. The other thing you've pointed out to us here on Drive is we've got an issue around the size of schools in Queensland. We know we're bursting at the seams here in southeast Queensland. How does that impact teachers and students?
Yeah, really important to understand, when schools are set up, they're set up with a certain level of enrolments. And as we know, population growth, growth corridors, it can all start to, what we see is enrolment creep. So we'll start to see a school of 400 enrolments when it was established, have a capacity maybe up to 600, but then become something much more than that. I see this nationally, schools of 400 enrolments become 2,000 enrolments. If you look at, as of 2024, ACARA, our Australian Curriculum Assessment and Reporting Authority reports that across the Australian students enrolled, we've got about 25% with needing additional educational adjustments due to disability, up from about 18% in 2015. So really, if we don't look at ways to reduce class size, give teachers in the sector opportunity to manage that excessive workload that comes with those additional needs, they're behind the eight ball a bit, and it's really unrealistic to expect teachers to make magic happen in that sense. It's not what they're there to do, and it's problematic.
So if you have a school originally built for 400 students and you jam 2,000 students in there, I'm just thinking, as I'm sure a lot of the listeners are, well, that just kind of means demountables. Surely there'd be an increase in the resourcing, more teachers, et cetera, in order to meet the increasing size of the student body.
Yeah, well, and you're absolutely right in terms of, national census days and where schools are required to obviously keep everything up to date and manage their reporting mechanisms so that departments can fund as best as they can what they can. So I want to acknowledge, obviously, that there are good people in all sides of this, at schools, at departments. Everyone's got to understand that there's well-intentioned opportunities here.
But what my question is, so what if a school's got 2,000 in it and it was built for 400? What's the impact of that? Tell me.
Number one, increased disruption that can occur with young people not having the sufficient resources. In some of the state government schools, young people would have laptops that maybe aren't fully functioning, centralised systems to improve some IT, but there might be real delays in the schools being able to get that support through unfit ways of centralising some of the support to schools. And so we're seeing on the ground they need support now, and they need it today to support the conditions to do their best work.
We're 3 minutes away from the news at 4 o'clock here on 612 ABC Radio Brisbane. But Ben Sacco, our Premier David Crisafulli ate cannoli with the Prime Minister and did a huge landmark school funding deal, delivering Gonski in full. And yet, while we're spending more and more money on education, teachers seem to be getting only more frazzled. Why?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Let's just, my understanding, I guess, is that the Commonwealth's contribution and the lift around the schooling resource standard, it is $2.8 billion in additional Commonwealth funding, but it's over the 10-year period. So the Commonwealth funding not only is drip-fed over that time period, but it's tied to reforms that need to lift education standards. And what we're hearing from teachers and from schools is we need that support now around the workforce demands, the administrative tasks, the burdens, and also not to mention, whilst we said at the start it's not really just about pay. Remember that the 8% over 3 years was the first offer, and if they had have accepted that as a union, they'd be the lowest paid in the country in 3 years from that point. So they've got some reasonable grounds to say, hey, let's come to the table and get this right.
There's a lot at risk with our education system, isn't it? And it requires people of goodwill to come together, because when we see those international report cards on our kids, the standards just aren't there for a future economy. Ben Sacco, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Ben, he's a teacher. He was a deputy principal, senior staffer in Victorian Ed, and now he manages this national consultancy, Education Economy.